Thank you for having us. Kristen and I are very happy to be co-partnering on the presentation. So I'm going to be taking you through more of the theoretical, what is your brand? What does that mean? What do I need to think of? And Kristen will jump into the deeper dive later. But Kristen, you want to go ahead and introduce yourself first?
Sure. So my name is Krista McClooney, and I am the social media manager at Bechtel. I've been at Bechtel for about 7 years, and outside of working at the company, I'm an avid traveler outside of this year, and I really enjoy doing these presentations. I've done them a lot with students. Talking about social media and technology, all the way from elementary students to college students, and just want to make sure that people are safe and doing the right things on social media, because as a manager for such a large company, I see a lot of things and I want to make sure that people are utilizing the platforms in the right way.
Very good. And my name is Stacy Zeller. I've been with BP for 7 years, but I've got 12 plus years of recruiting experience. I'm a mom of 2 boys, so my husband just took the boys out for a little bike ride, so hopefully you won't hear any noise in the background today. I have an undergrad in arts and communication and a master's in organizational leadership. I've had 3 different roles at BP, and why I'm here is one of my roles was a global role in London, covering BP's social media channels for our careers global recruitment teams. So branding and marketing is near and dear to my heart, and I use it a lot as a recruiter. So you're going to get some really great perspectives, me as a recruiter and Kristen as a social media expert throughout the presentation. So please do, hopefully you'll ask a lot of questions. We'll try to get through the content quickly so we can focus on the questions and what you came here to learn more about. All right. So what is a brand? So your brand is not who you are, it's what others think you are. So I can reference that as an internal employee. We get and potentially can be assigned to various projects, and they could be expat assignments, they could be just general new sustainability projects that we want to participate in. So when I think of what others think about you is, do you get tapped to be on special projects? Are you the person, the go-to person for marketing, for engineering, for process controls, for safety? So your brand is what others think about you. So if you think about this too, your mentors, your sponsors, those are the people longer term in your career. They're going to be your advocates when you're not in the room. So your brand and how you show up is what others think about you. Your mentors, your line managers, your peers, and those that you support and work around. And so as you think about that, and you think about the different interactions you have and your performance and how you show up and how you communicate and do these various things, that those performance pieces and indicators become your brand. So this is beyond, what do you put on your social media profile, and it goes beyond that. There's an accountability to show up and look the same way that you're showing up on your LinkedIn profile or your resume. So if you think about your brand, it's not who you think you are, because there's a lot of things that I think I am, and then someone will tap me and I'm like, oh, I didn't think you thought of me that way. So it's how do you show up? So think about it more broadly, and how you're showing up, where your passions are. So I do a lot of things in my recruitment role, but I also do a lot of things outside of that recruitment role. And I'm sure you all do the same thing. You have one passion in one area, but then you also have some interests elsewhere. And those bits and pieces of your passion and what makes you you become your brand and how you're showing up in these various capacities. Go ahead, Kristen. So there's a lot on this slide. At the end of the day, this slide is about purpose. So as you approach a recruiter, as you approach a line manager, as you approach your interviews, your professors, it's what is your purpose? So there's basically 4 circles here, and then in each of those circles, they cross into one another. But at the top, that what you love. So what are you passionate about? Chemical engineering, electrical engineering, computer science, digital security. And then there's things that we're just naturally good at. So is it engineering? Is it marketing? Is it some other various creative thing that make you good at something? And then as you look at what your purpose is can I get paid for that? So you might be crafty and artsy, but can I really make money off of that? Or do I just have a side Etsy shop doing something? And then there's also that in which the world needs. So when you combine what you love, what are you good at, what can you be paid for, and what the world needs. And then you take those smaller bits of passion, mission, profession, and vocation, you have your purpose. And once you build what that looks like, that becomes your elevator pitch. That becomes your intro of who you are and why you're talking to this company, or why you're talking to this hiring manager, or why you're telling your aunts and uncles what you do and why you do it. That becomes your purpose, and that purpose becomes your brand. And then that's how you relay that message across multiple platforms in various capacities in various ways, and in elevator pitches, and in your intro and an interview, and all of those various things. And that's what companies look for. We want to know, what do you do? Why do you do it? Why are you passionate about that? And how do you want to bring that motivation into supporting what we do and solving problems with us? And so it works in various capacities to really hone in on, what is your purpose? What do you want to solve? What problems does the world need solved that you want to participate in? And why are you good at it? Why are you passionate about it? Are you curious? Are you learning more? Are you going above and beyond to build your capability and your application of knowledge? And all of those different experiences then become your brand and who you're known for within an organization, whether it's your class, whether it's with your professors, or when you start getting internships and longer term roles. Your performance and how you're showing up in these various capacities become your brand and what you get known for. This is my big one. What is your differentiator? So we're going to go through some numbers later that hopefully can draw this out a bit more. But what I call a differentiator is there are 30,000 plus chemical engineers that graduate in the US every year, probably more than that now. If you're all 30,000 are applying for the job, what is a differentiator? Do you know what your differentiator is? What makes you better than the other chemical engineers that have applied to the same role at the same company? So when you think of a differentiator, is what is my unique value proposition that I bring to the table that the company needs and wants? And so that's when doing research on companies' websites and doing research on other people's profiles on LinkedIn and looking at different alumni networks, that's where you can start saying, who has gaps that I want to fill? Where are there opportunities where we share the same passion, we share the same purpose, and they have an opportunity where I can use those skill sets, I can take my passion, and I can help solve the same problems that I want to solve with this company. And so your value proposition then becomes your differentiator. So is it communication? Is it really great technical skill sets? Is it knowing multiple language and being able to speak multiple languages and supporting a team globally? So there's various things that become your differentiator, but you have to create that, right? Sometimes it doesn't come naturally, and sometimes you have to find experiences that then build your differentiator. And that's where internships and these student demonstrations where you get to go and explore a company for a week or do job shadowing, those are critical, because now you can speak to an experience of, hey, I got to shadow at this manufacturing plant and I love that everyone was super hands-on. I want to have my hard hat, steel-toed boots. I want to be able to go out and touch the assets, see the assets, and do that. And that draws the attention of the hiring manager and folks on the other end to say, yeah, that's what we do. That's great. That's a perfect fit. And so when you start thinking about what is your differentiator and how am I showing up different than the other, 30,000, 50,000 grads that are also graduating in the United States with my same degree, with the same GPA, with one internship or two internships, what is your value proposition and what is your differentiator? So as you think about that, hopefully that gives you motivation to join, just like you're here now, you're differentiating yourself by being a part of SWE. So that's one thing that is a differentiator. Now take a leadership role. So participating is great, but we'd love to see where you're expanding your communication and leadership skill sets in various capacities, whether it's treasury, whether it's a vice president, whether it's recruitment. All of these things are teaching you how to work cross-functionally with multiple people. It's teamwork, and you're as a team, you're solving problems together. And those are all differentiators that when you go through an interview process and when you start going out into your first full-time job, all of those things are going to lend you long success, longer term, because you're already going to have those experiences and not just learning them for the first time in your internship. So branding yourself on social media. So talk about what you like. Obviously, highlight what your major is. You can highlight your GPA. You can highlight different experiences. And even if it's just a week-long experience somewhere, that's great. That's exposure. That's you learning what you like and what you don't like. That's you getting various experiences and having multiple conversations, practicing your elevator pitch. And again, just testing out, do I like this? No, yes. And then you can speak to that in the interview process as you start honing down industries you like, companies that you like, jobs that you like to do, and skill sets that you want to gain. So focus on all of those as far as how you brand yourself on social media. Obviously, I have a professional headshot, an overview of what makes you special and different. So what is your differentiator? Are you an engineer with computer science and digital capabilities? Are you, do you have finance in your background? So, and you're going for your MBA because you want to be an engineer and lead large global teams and as a project manager someday. Talk about your community involvement. So all of those things are great differentiators of how you're putting yourself out there, how you're supporting your community, and it's building out what your purpose is. So all of those pieces that I mentioned on what your purpose is, those are all great things that you can include in your LinkedIn profile. And what is it about you that a company wants to have you as part of their team? And again, I think the obvious one here is adding work experience and leadership opportunities, because it shows that you have a work ethic. It shows that you want to learn, that you're putting yourself out there. And again, even a lifeguard, you have to learn to communicate. You have to learn good customer experience. So you gain experiences even at lower levels that you then continue to put the building blocks on and gain more and more experiences, get better and better at interviewing, and just understand how to work with people. And I think that's the key thing, is that is an essential skill in all roles now. It's not hard technical, it's these essential soft skills, which are not soft skills anymore, they're essential skills around communication and teamwork and these various capacities of working cross-functionally and working in Kanban and agile methodologies are absolutely key. So the more that you can build those experiences to then showcase on your social media presence, goes a long way. By the numbers, and then I'm going to turn it over to Kristen because I tend to talk a lot and I'm so sorry. So by the numbers, so LinkedIn has over 600 million members, and that's growing at like 2 profiles per second, something crazy. There are 30 million recent grads. So now I'm going to go back to the differentiator piece. There are 30 million recent grads and 30 million companies on LinkedIn. How do you differentiate yourself between 30 million other grads across the platform? And so take that away today is talking about what do you offer that's different than the other 30 million grads that are coming out of school year on year. And think about what your differentiator is. And if you don't necessarily have it yet, figure out where you want to get it. How do you want to harness those different experiences? Where do you want to go find that experience or that leadership capacity, or signing up for an extra course or getting an extra certification that you can then take and parlay into your next experience and next exposure. So these are the numbers, and I know Kristen's going to share some more, but I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to you, Kristen.
All right, sounds good. So I'm going to talk a little bit more about, once you've decided that you want to get on LinkedIn, how exactly do you develop your profile? And so, as Stacy mentioned, this is a place where you can differentiate yourself from other people and show your interest in companies and who you are, and get to tell a bit of your story. So I think one of the most basic things and ways that you can highlight yourself is to really develop your profile. And in that place, what you can do is add a great banner header image. And so that area is this top area at the top of the page. And so you can utilize that to summarize what you're passionate about. You can highlight your alma mater. That may be a good way for you to connect with alumni groups, or you can do something that's related to your industry. So the example that I showed up here is this man, Aaron Cordova. He's a engineer and he does coding at Facebook. And so he made his banner about coding. So that makes him stand out from other people that do something similar to him in that area. And so the next thing that's really important is also writing an informative profile headline. And so the headline part of your profile is like your slogan. Stacy mentioned your elevator pitch. And this is like the area where you want a recruiter or hiring manager or someone that you're going to work with to know, like, this is what you do. And so the default on LinkedIn is your job title. And so that's usually what you see with a lot of people. But a strong profile headline can be what differentiates you from other people. And a great way to figure out what to put there is to look at examples of people that you admire or people that have recently graduated from your school or in fields that you're in to help you figure out. What you may want to put there. A suggestion that I've found in my research and looking online is that to really avoid cliches and buzzwords like, marketing superstar or those type of things, and really put like what it is that you do or what you're trying to accomplish in that section. So if you see at the bottom of the screen, this is an example of how a headline would be written. So the person communicates like what they may do, what they're focused on, and like when they're graduating, let's say if they're a student. And so you could put something like a recent communications graduate with a focus on digital media, or a recent graduate seeking my first job in chemical engineering. Or you can talk about, if you're up for graduation, these are the things that I'm an expert in. So I'm an expert in coding, or I plan on graduating in 2020. And so it lets people see a summary, and it's a limited number of characters. So it lets people see like what exactly you're searching for on LinkedIn. And then the next section under that is your summary section. And so again, this is where you highlight what differentiates you. So it's where you go to put, what makes you stand out, what makes you different. So in that area, use keywords and phrases that a recruiter might search for. So if you're an expert in a certain type of engineering, then make sure that you highlight that your focus is on, chemical engineering or whatever it may be. You talk about your experience and your qualifications and your goals. So even if you don't have any experience, then you say like, this is why I want to be an engineer, or this is what I hope to accomplish in my career in that section. And then also, if you have very specific skills, I'd say mention it there. So if you have spoken at conferences such as SWE and you have experience leading groups, then that's also a skill set that you can put in there as well to highlight and again to differentiate you from other people. Also, that section is great to add like images, videos, or other documents as well. So if you spoke on a panel and you have a great picture of yourself speaking on stage, you can do that there. If you have an interview from an award you received and it's on YouTube, you can link to the YouTube profile there, or any other document. So if you have like a certificate in something, or you wrote a white paper, it accepts PDFs in that area as well. And again, it's a place where you can be robust and highlight all of the things that you've accomplished in your career. And again, what I like to tell people is to look at the summaries of people in the industry for guidance, and then also highlight your soft skills too. Like, showing that you're a good communicator and that you have emotional intelligence and that you are a good brainstormer. Those are things that people are also looking for. In the experience section, again, it's listing the jobs that you've had, whether they're paid or unpaid, internships, anything that helps to show like this is the work that I've done and the things that I've accomplished. And as a student, also list, the organizations that you've been involved in as well, especially if you've held a leadership role in those. And also, there's a volunteer experiences and causes section. So if you volunteer in your community, highlight that as well to show that you have balance and you've been able to maintain your schoolwork, and also be able to go out and volunteer and participate in different activities. So your profile area, your summary, and your experience are really areas where you get to highlight who you are and the things that you've accomplished. Also, ways to make it more dynamic, like I mentioned before, add writing examples if you're a writer, or if you have multiple skills, put your portfolio, some of your designs or different things in that. Um, if you've been on a podcast, again, documents, all of those different things. This is like your online portfolio. I say LinkedIn is your resume that works for you 24 hours a day, even when you're not online. If someone Googles your name 9 times out of 10 because of SEO, your LinkedIn profile is going to be one of the first things that pops up. So don't just have it sitting there dormant without having information about you on there. Let it work for you even when you're not on there. So again, another great area that I talk about is the endorsement section too. And that way, people can highlight what your key skills are. So someone may come to my profile and say, Kristen is great in public relations. She's great in social media. And it's just those little endorsements from people that help people to see, oh, this person really can do what they said that they've done. Now, an important area that a lot of people don't take advantage of is claiming your unique LinkedIn URL. Um, it's really important, one, because it can help differentiate you from other people and it's easy to use like on your resume and your email signature. And then also, um, if you have a common name like Jane Doe, you could make it Jane the engineer or something related to your field. But this also helps to easily identify like who you are versus someone else. And if you don't create your own unique URL, then your name may be Jane Doe 34678. So it's just giving you something unique, and you can uh, create that and claim that in your personal profile, and that helps people to know that you are the right person that they're looking for. Another really, really important thing with your profile is proofreading. So I suggest running it through Grammarly and then also having a trusted friend or mentor or professor look it over and ask the person looking at it, can they tell what your goals are by looking at your profile? And if the answer is no, then from there, you should start making some revisions so that you really are sharing the story that you want to share. And then a really great thing, especially if you're a student, um, and when you're in the workforce, is asking for recommendations. And so genuine recommendations like really help to boost your credibility. And what I like to do is like offer an exchange for peers. So this is an example here where one of my colleagues asked me for a recommendation. I said, sure, but write me one as well. And so we both wrote really robust recommendations for one another. He was looking for something in particular, so I made sure that I highlighted like what he worked in, the areas and topics that he was an expert in, and he shared some of the same things for me. So then that way, in developing your profile, when people see the recommendation, it really highlights who you are and the things that you've done within a company. And again, like I mentioned, draft your summary in like Word, Pages, Grammarly, any of those type of programs because LinkedIn doesn't have spell check. And I'd hate for you to spend a lot of time working on your profile and then, your browser closes or something crashes. So at least you'll have a backup version of that somewhere that you can go to. And then also, it's easy to share with someone to ask them, does my profile look good? Can you understand what I'm trying to accomplish as well by sending them the Word document and getting their input from that? Also, after writing your summary and anything on LinkedIn, look at it and say, how does this help me? If that sentence or that paragraph isn't helping you to accomplish your goals or what you're trying to find in the next job, then remove it or figure out how you can reword it. Also, if you have numbers, utilize that. If you helped increase the percentage of, participants in a program by 30%, then say that versus saying, you know, added new participants to the program. That shows dynamic numbers and facts and figures that people can see and understand, and that helps you to stand out as well. And then also, LinkedIn is not the place to be shy. So it's a place to show off your accomplishments, your experiences, all the courses you've taken, your GPA, like all of those things that really make you stand out from other people. So this is just like a visual checklist of all the things that I just went through. So again, it's having the photo at the top. It's showing your headline, which is, what you're looking to do, who you are, those type of things. Another thing that I also recommend for your location is to put in, if you're like a student and you're graduating, you want to live somewhere else. If you live in Nashville, Tennessee, but you want to work in Atlanta, Georgia, then put your location as Atlanta, Georgia, because if recruiters or people are looking for a specific area, then that'll put you where you're looking to move or have your job. And again, in your summary, it's describing who you are, your skill set, what's next, highlighting your experience, your organizations, your education, your volunteer experience. This is where I said people can endorse you for particular skill sets, share your honors, your courses, different projects you're working on, and then your recommendations. And really, the ways to maximize using the platform is to connect with many people as possible. Feel free to, reach out to people, especially if they're in a similar field. And if you don't have a real connection, send them a note and make them aware why you're interested in connecting with them. If you're a student and they're an engineer in a particular field or work for a company, then don't just send the request, but send the request with a note that says, "Hi, I'm graduating from this particular university and I'd love to connect with you because I'm interested in your field." And that gives introduction that you need and may make them warmer to accept your connection. Um, Again, get endorsements and endorse others. That helps to show your expertise. I say join and contribute to relevant groups. There are so many groups on LinkedIn that are related to so many different topic areas and groups that you may participate in. So for example, I'm in social media related groups, I'm in journalism related groups, I'm in um, groups that are related to my alumni associations, different topic areas, people that want to be entrepreneurs. There's so many groups. And so if you have something that you really specifically want to get into, then I suggest joining those groups. And that's also a good place where you may be able to find mentors and other people that you want to connect with. Also, follow companies that you're interested in, and engage with employees at companies that you may want to work at. I think that's one of the best ways. These are some of the best ways to help maximize how you utilize LinkedIn. Also, I say try the return browse. If you're really shy and you're trying to get on someone's radar, some people say it's a little sneaky, but it's like look at someone's page, and a lot of times it'll show up on the person's page that this person viewed their profile. And so if they browse back, then that kind of gives you a little indication that they're aware of you. And then that also opens the door to send them like a message or connection request like, "Hi, thanks for checking out my profile, even though you did it first. I'd love to connect with you because you're an engineer in the field that I'm interested in, or because you work at this particular company," or whatever it may be. So trying the return browse is a way just to open up the doors if you're a little bit shy. Also, these are examples, like I said, "Hey, Jeff, thanks for visiting my profile. I'd love to connect with you directly about working in engineering," or, share, "I'm a recent Syracuse grad. I'd love to work for your organization. Are you open to connecting and having a brief conversation?" So just taking the little initiatives to reach out to people will help to expand your network. And you never know, you may find a mentor or someone that can help connect you with a job as well. Like I said, on here, the worst thing that could happen is they don't respond, but there are 30 million, new students and people and just companies that are engaging on LinkedIn. So then there's always someone else to connect with. So if someone doesn't respond, then you just move on and you try to connect with other people. So that is my part. So now we will open the floor for questions.
Any questions at all about how you've used LinkedIn or successes you've had, or feel free to make this as a sharing session as well for your other colleagues to learn what has worked or what you are challenged with.
Hi, I'd like to chime in. Hi, my name is Michelle, and I really like that return browse tip that you shared. One thing that I like to do is, and I wanted to get like your opinions on it as well, but I've seen successes in developing relationships when I follow someone first, and then I kind of get to know what their posts are like and what their what kind of content they post, who they are, their experiences. And then once I get more familiar with them, then I feel like, okay, now I'm more apt to develop that relationship and make that connection or make the ask to connect. So yeah, do you think that's creepy or do you think it's like well justified?
I think the follow function is good. And even working with a lot of executives and senior leaders when it comes to their LinkedIn profiles, they don't have the connect option. And so they have it set up so that you can follow it to see what's going on. So some people appreciate that. And then that lets them know, that you are interested in them and you've taken the time to look at their profile and to engage and connect with them. So I think that's a great way, especially if you're shy. Like, I'm shy in general, so that gives me the follow button allows me to look at a profile and, like you said, see what's going on with them and see what's happening, and then try the connection or then send the email, because after following you may see this really isn't a person that I want to be connected to or follow as well. So I think that's a good approach.
And that also brings up a good point about authenticity. So if you know somebody and you want to get to know them better, you can be more authentic if you find something that tangibly connects the two of you to make it easier for you to reach out. Maybe you find out that you were in the same sorority or same organization at one point or support the same charity. So the more that you do that, you can gain genuine ways to then reach out instead of just kind of cold emailing people, which is also fine. Because usually the folks that show up in your newsfeed are 1 and 2 connections. So there's something and someone in there that you're connected to make that person populate in your search. But the more research you do, the more authentic you can be with your initial message about why you're reaching out, who you are, and why you want to connect. It's good. Thanks, Michelle.
All right, yeah, thank you.
Someone has their hand up. Juan.
Hi, yes. I noticed that LinkedIn just added a stories feature, and I was hoping you could give some advice on how you should leverage that. Yeah, that's it.
So I've been thinking about that as well. And it's a little bit difficult now that everyone's at home, because I think it's in the future, I think that'll really be a really cool feature. Like if you're at a conference or an event and you're highlighting like career related things, or even like if you have like a screenshot of a really good article or something that you've seen that you may not want to post the whole thing on the timeline, I think you can look at it that way. I wouldn't do like the typical Snapchat, TikTok,
Oh, yeah.
Instagram type of thing in the stories. But if you can find, here are my 5 tips to be a great social media person, and then you kind of do something on each slide. So that can also be an area where you show your expertise, but you don't necessarily want to have it on your timeline, or here are 5 things I've learned about, being on Zoom or Teams, and do like something fun or interesting that's career related, but not necessarily something that you want static and on your timeline forever. So I think it's a place to have a little bit more fun. And I think really once we get back into the going to conferences and events and those type of things, that may be a good area to highlight. Like, here's what's happening if you were actually at SWE and walking through the convention center. I have to think about it from a personal perspective, because I've been
Right.
thinking from the corporate perspective of how to use it. But I think you can highlight like some of your expertise and the differentiators for you, especially now since a lot of people don't know how to use it. You can kind of be seen as an innovator and start
Sure.
adding your tips and things up there.
For sure. Definitely. Thank you.
Thanks for the question.
I had a question. So nowadays, a lot of students have leadership and other volunteering, and I was just wondering, what do you think defines outstanding leadership?
I'll go back to one of Kristen's point. The more that you can make tangible either numbers or size, scope, and scale. I speak in those terms because people, you can vice president of SWE and then manage this org, right? And it's pretty simple and basic. But when you get down to how large was your cohort when you came in, and then how large was it when you left? What was your budget? What were some of your main accomplishments that year? Help drive this charity or help drive this community service event that saw 25,000 students from my school participate in raising for the dance competition and raising funds for the dance competition. So tangible things really speak to recruiters. And those are differentiators, are the tangible things. Are you thoughtful? Are you in detail about why you're doing what you're doing? And that draws out that whole purpose piece. And it's not just some putting something on a resume to have it on a resume. Is I'm thoughtful about it. I had a thoughtful approach. I'm detail oriented, and I drive it. I drove it, and I created this amazing accomplishment. And that's how you can differentiate the president of SWE, and then draw that out a bit more as far as where you excelled in those leadership capabilities.
And also, like Stacy was mentioning, if you created like a new program or a new initiative or something that really makes you stand out, I think that's a great place to put it there. And the sharing the numbers is important because like if you go to a school where it's 20,000 students and you had 15% of the population show up to your event, that's like amazing. So make sure that you highlight that, I've done this particular thing, or even at a smaller school, just to show that you've engaged this large number of people. I think the numbers and highlighting those things, and even if you had, what you ran on, like I ran on the platform of making sure that more women got involved in STEM, and this is what we accomplished. Like if you can share those things, I think that helps to show like what your leadership platforms were too.
Great questions.
Any other questions?
I was just laughing
Hi,
so hard.
I'd like to chime in and just ask both of you a question. So, like, as social media gurus, what was something that was like really difficult for you to improve on with your brand, or with just the act of, using social media, or like, what is the thing for you now?
Oh, talking about myself, like being my own advocate was hard at first when I was younger and I didn't have a whole lot of experience. And I feel like the more experience you gain, the better that will get. So don't overwhelm yourself with trying to have the most perfect, because authentic reads through, regardless if it's just a few lines or if it's 10 paragraphs, which again, you don't need. But the more authentic you are, the better, and it will continuously grow. So as Kristen said, this is your real life resume. I don't even update my own resume anymore. I don't have business cards. I use LinkedIn. I use the QR code, and I use these different pieces of technology to stay connected. So when you think about it, is be authentic. Start small. And as you add experiences, you add more to your journey now. You add more to your purpose, and you add more to what you're looking for and those different experiences. So don't think that you have to have it perfect today. It's a constant thing that you're going to go back to and reevaluate. Wow, I remember I did that. That's great. Look how far I've come. And now I'm here. And so it shows this journey that you take throughout your career path, and the different things that you do and your different accomplishments. And then your elevator pitch gets easier and easier every year because you have now more experiences to speak to, and it's more authentic because you actually did it and not saying, I want to be this, right? You were this. And so just be kind to yourself in these first couple of years as you gain different experiences to build that out. And it'll become more robust year on year as you do it.
And I also think make sure that you add things that happen like while they go along, because I think about first joined LinkedIn, it wasn't a lot of people on there, so I didn't add a lot of things. And then going back trying to think, what did I do at the American Red Cross in 2006? I really can't remember. But if I had have done it and added like those bullet points, then for like my key accomplishments, I think that would have helped along the way. So that's also, as you're building, if anything exciting or cool, or if you have like a presentation that you're super proud of, then feel free to share the presentation. Like I have a presentation that I keep on my profile because I talked to a Girl Scouts convention about how they can be safe on social media. I may not present that again, but that presentation may help somebody else if they come to my profile and they're trying to figure out how to talk to kids. So if it's anything like cool or interesting, like put it up and be proud of your things that you've accomplished, even if they seem small. They're important and they could help you because that may be important to someone else.
Thanks for the advice, Kristen and Stacey. I really resonated with that, or that resonated with me.
Anyone else? Feel free to come off mute, raise your hand, however you'd like.
And then just one other piece of advice I'd throw out for those of us that are been in the workforce. Don't be shy about updating your LinkedIn profile. And if you want to, you can adjust settings so that every time you update or change something, you don't send an alert out. But I think a lot of people feel nervous or uncomfortable about updating it because they don't want their coworkers to think they're looking for a new job or something like that. So just feel free to continue to update it. Like it's your working resume. It may connect you with people that may not be about getting a new job, but you may find a mentor or someone that can give you really great advice or just want to connect with you on a professional level. So don't be shy about updating your profile because you're worried about like what some of your colleagues or other people may think.
Oh, another question. Elena?
So, do you know on LinkedIn they have this new feature where you can like create your own resume? Do you know if anyone's ever done that or like how that process works?
Is it the PDF download or actual the service?
I think there's both. I remember seeing the PDF, but I think there's also something that says like resume builder. So I just didn't know if either of you have ever looked into it or not.
I have not as a recruiter. So I know LinkedIn makes some companies, you're allowed to apply for a job with your LinkedIn profile. And that's what Kristen was referencing is you can put your profile into a PDF form. I haven't experimented much with the resume side because everyone has to go through, being that we're government contractors, everyone has to go through compliance and go through the website. So we can't even deal in that space. But I can look into it and get back to you for sure. I just haven't spent much time doing that. I'm guessing it's just like a template guide.
Yeah, I know they have a template guide, and then also there's a section where it's like help build or expand your resume, and it actually takes you into like a contractor portal. And so there are people that like pitch to you to say like, I'd like to help you build your resume, or you kind of go through steps like I'm looking to build a resume, or I'm looking to have a career coach or something like that. But it takes you more into like a services platform where there's someone that actually they're bidding to get you to utilize their service. So between what Stacy mentioned and that, those are the only two areas that I've really seen for LinkedIn personally.
Got it. Thank you.
Any other final questions?
Hey, Kristen, I got a quick question.
Sure.
We have our internal, like at Bechtel, we have our internal, I guess, resume or LinkedIn, right?
Mm-hmm.
How do you see that differently than the LinkedIn profile for those folks that have to juggle both?
So you mean like our TalentWorks type of profile?
Yeah.
So for that, that's more if there's something that comes up within the company, then the HR recruiters can look and see like, oh, we have a comms position open, who within Bechtel may be able to qualify for this particular position. Whereas LinkedIn opens you up to, the larger world and recruiters and people all over. So I'm not encouraging anyone to leave the company, but I just feel like it's a good balance to have both. And you don't have to put forth, a lot of effort. It's just really, I say it takes like a couple hours, maybe one day, just to update your LinkedIn profile and put it out there, especially if you are trying to network more or if you are looking for another opportunity or those type of things. But the internal one is more for searches within the company. So like if we have an opening in corporate affairs, we may search to see who has comms experience or who has this experience, and that's for inside the company versus the external aspect. And we do some recruiting through LinkedIn for the external positions, but that's totally different from like our internal platform.
Tony, that actually brings up a good point because BP, we have something similar called My Profile, and it's an internal, your internal resume, I guess. But what brings up a good point is I see this a lot is folks come out of school and then they end up going down a path that doesn't necessarily align to their degree or what someone would think of them for. So as a recruiter doing a search for a mechanical engineer, if you've either gone down the electrical route or gone down a technology route, make that known multiple times throughout your profile so that people aren't reaching out to you for mechanical maintenance jobs and rotating equipment jobs, or mechanical manufacturing jobs. Make sure you're highlighting the technology pieces and those experiences. So like, oh, okay, so this person only has a mechanical, but I've seen they've gone down this path. Got it. So if you do go down a different path or you've gotten a degree and you've pivoted and gone in a different direction, make sure you highlight that in multiple capacities throughout your profile so that when recruiters do reach out to you and they do find you, one, they find you because the right keywords are in there for those roles. But then you're not getting a bunch of emails about jobs that you don't actually want. So utilize those when we talk about keywords is, you know, what coding skills do you have? What certifications do you have? What skill sets do you have in the discipline that you're going down and to apply your degree in? So Tony, that brought up that point of that because the internal is the same way as what keywords will populate. What systems do I know? What either computer systems or technologies do I know that are required for that role, and highlighting those. They're very similar.
And I'd also suggest if there's something you don't want to do, especially on your LinkedIn profile, to take that out. So for example, one of my jobs before Bechtel, I was a technical writer and I had that in my LinkedIn profile and I had recruiters bothering me all the time about technical writing and I hated it. But because it was in my profile and in my summary, they kept reaching out to me about it. So if it's something that you really don't want to tackle again, then also make sure that you remove those items from your profile.
That was awesome advice. Thank you so much, both of you.
Absolutely. Anyone else?
And I was going to say ditto to what Katie said in the chat, that you can be a bit more technical and detailed about your experience on an internal site, especially regarding things that may be proprietary.
Yep.
So being aware of that as well.
Absolutely.
So, hi. If no one else has questions, I do have that.
Go ahead.
Okay. So the first one would be like you were talking about keywords. Like, is there a database or like some kind of thesaurus for like what keywords are? Because when I write my resume or write, populate my profile, I just communicate what I feel like I would want people to know. But I didn't know that they were buzzwords. So is there a source to find out what these magic words are?
Yeah, so there's an algorithm that LinkedIn has. So when I'm, as a recruiter, if I go in and I'm searching for a particular discipline in a particular location, I have a set of keywords that I want that are built in the job description that the hiring manager said, this is what I need. I need X, Y, and Z with this and that. I go and I plug in that algorithm. The more keywords, and you don't need to go crazy with like 10. If you have your top keywords at least 2 or 3 times throughout your profile, that's all you need. Anything above that, I don't think you get much more return out of. So it's things like chemical engineer, process safety. So how many times do you talk about process safety and how your application of knowledge in process safety or process engineering or process controls? And if you've used process controls, what system do you use? Honeywell, Delta V. And so those are the types of keywords that as a company, if you utilize those technologies, we want that skill set from you. You know that skill set, and we want to bring you in for that particular skill set. So those would be perfect examples of how you would want to implement. Don't just say work in process controls. Work with utilizing and optimizing Honeywell TDC or Honeywell systems across multiple assets, and talk about the assets. So bring in the size and scope and scale of 3,000 various assets within the refinery, and bringing them online and optimizing them day to day as part of that. So keywords, again, these will be built longer term when you start getting more experiences, and you'll start to hone in on what are those capabilities and what is that brand. So what is your brand? Are you going to become the process safety expert? Are you going to become the project engineering expert? And then all of those keywords will start to funnel in with that. Your project management certifications, all of the various capacities, managing large budgets, and what are those budgets, and time to complete projects and such. So your keywords will grow. Don't worry about having a ton of them now, but focus on how you want to show up in if a recruiter did a search, how would you want them to find you and reach out to you about said jobs? To Kristen's point, don't put a bunch of stuff on there that you've just done to do it if you don't want that type of role or job.
And I would suggest, as Stacy said, have it in there multiple times so you can have, let's say if it's process engineer, have that in your summary, and then that's also in like your job description. And then when I talked about partnering with a colleague for an endorsement, like my colleague said, Kristen is a great communicator and social media manager, so he made sure that he used social media in his endorsement as well. So it's sprinkled in different areas of your LinkedIn profile too. And then those areas where you can endorse people on expertise, process engineer could be one of those in there too. So you have it sprinkled like multiple locations throughout your LinkedIn profile.
And LinkedIn also has a skills section where you can just keyword search various skills and plunk them in. And that also helps the algorithm identify you and populate you into recruiter searches as well. So again, don't need to start large, but look for a few of the skills that you do have now, and you can add those. And those are keyword searchable by recruiters. And then it just helps populate your profile to the top of searches. And following companies, that's the other thing. As you're scoping out companies you want to work for, pick your top 20 to 25 companies that you want to work for and follow them. Because when you follow those companies, the recruiters from those companies, they're going to search and find people that follow them before they go after anybody else in those recruitment searches, because that means you already want to work for them, you're already showing an interest, and you're the first people then that they will reach out to. So follow your top 20, 50, however many companies you have on your list, and follow all of them. One, you'll get more information about them and start understanding their purpose and the things that they're doing, and are they growing? What types of jobs will they have? But then it also rings to the recruiter that you're interested in, and you'll be the first person that they reach out to when they have a job opening.
And as Stacy mentioned, it's helpful to get the updates and information about the company. I've seen people in interviews like, oh, do you follow us on social? And they're like, oh, you guys have social media? Well, like if you have been paying attention to us, then you should know that we have like these accounts and platforms that we're trying to put information out on. So I think that's really helpful, as she said, to follow. And then also LinkedIn has also added like some skills tests in there as well. So if there's certain areas where you want to showcase that you're really an expert, they have like these little tests that they give. So they had like a social media test, and I took it just to see what it was, and it asked you like different questions, and then it gave me like a little sticker that said Kristen is an expert in social media. I don't know that it counts for anything, but if it makes you feel good about like a particular area, then you can also try those, because it gives you like a little badge on your profile.
That's awesome. Yeah, I'll definitely utilize those. And the keyword thing, I thought I was being redundant if I were to mention it more than once. So yeah, that's good to know now, to sprinkle it in a couple
Absolutely.
times.
Yep. 3 times max. You really don't need any more than that, I don't think.
And also look at jobs that you're interested in and see like what are the common keywords that they're using in those job postings. I'm not saying make up that you have that experience, but find like the words that they're using, because some companies may describe the same position but with different titles. So if you know that you can do that particular job, then you may also be able to utilize the other wording that a company uses as well.
Yep, absolutely.
I have one more question. What advice do you have for international companies that are on LinkedIn that want to hire US?
International companies that only want to hire in the US?
No, sorry, that not want to hire, but for a US person to get hired by an international company. Like, is LinkedIn being used internationally the way that we describe it here?
Yes.
The same way? Yeah.
Yep, absolutely.
Is there any advice on how you can make your profile stand out to those international companies, or just kind of the things that you guys talked through today?
I think some of the things we talked through, and then like if you're just like Europe, that's a little bit broad, but like if I want to move to London, then it may be like your location on your profile to the London metro area, so that when recruiters are looking for people, they may be looking in a particular area. And so if your thing says, you know, Texas as an example, but you want to work in London, you're, you know, they may not think that you're interested in it. And then also it's like a back end part of LinkedIn within your settings where you can put that you're open for recruiters to reach out to you, and you can list cities that you're interested in. And so you can go in and interested in London and, you know, wherever the city may be in that. So that also puts you in the pool for the recruiters. And that would be like within your back end setting that, you know, you're open. It says like, are you open to recruiters reaching out to you? In what areas are you interested in working? And so then you can plug in like those cities in there.
And I would just be bold too and just go ahead and put it in your summary. So if that's your passion, that's your goal, put that in your summary, you know. Experienced mechanical engineer, looking for my next opportunity in London to do X, Y, and Z, and then what skill sets you've gained along the way and how and why you want to apply them there. Because there will probably be a relocation aspect of that somewhere. So I'm absolutely okay on the location piece within US if it's already going to be, you're already going to be living there. But if you're going to move it, but you're going to need relocation, reach out to you and they say, well, oh, I thought you were in London, we don't offer relocation. Just be aware of that just in case. But you can certainly call that out in your summary as far as saying, I want to work in London, I want to do X, Y, and Z. Here are the skill sets and capabilities I have that can get me there. And then those locations will pop up in a recruiter search still.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
Anybody else?
Yeah, I have one more question. So when I got into the construction industry, the primary reason why I got in was because I want to rebuild the infrastructure of El Salvador where I was born. Is that something good for me to put on my About section within my LinkedIn profile?
Yeah, that's awesome. Yep.
Yes.
Okay.
That's
Awesome.
That's authentic. That's who you are, and that's why you're passionate. That is passion. That is genuine, authentic, why I'm doing what I'm doing. And so those are the types of things that we look for, is that authenticity and why you're so passionate about that, because you're going to excel at it. You're going to be curious about it. You're going to want to learn it, and you're going to excel at that. And those are the types of things that we look for, is connecting the dots, right? It's not just having a really great resume. It's connecting the dots about why you're here, what your purpose is, and going back to that purpose thing, the Venn diagram of the purpose in all of those various capacities, and that's it.
Awesome. Thank you.
And I think that's a great, you know, in your summary section, you say, my name is Juan, and I got into this because of that. Like, that's your great intro to let people know, like, why you're passionate about it. So, like, as Stacy mentioned, I think that's really, really a great thing to put in there. Like, when I talk about social media education, I talk about with students, I always share the reason I got into teaching students is because I work in social media for a global corporation, and I've seen a lot of adults mess up. And so I'd like to help people at a younger age. So I share that because that's where my passion for helping students be safer in that area. So it's just telling your story. It's authentic. It's genuine. It's who you are, and it's why you're doing what you want to do.
Love that.
Any questions? We have time for one more if anyone wants to chime in. Well, we really appreciate you attending today. I hope everyone got at least something out of it, if not multiple things out of today's session. Kristen, thank you so much. That was great.
Thank you.